Hey there! Today we're going to learn about paper quilling, which is a fun way to use paper to make paper sculptures. As you can see, I'm out enjoying the great outdoors. But when I'm not doing that, what am I going to do in my studio? It's not colorful enough outside yet, so we have to go create some colorful flowers in our own house. What you'll need for this project is a bunch of paper and some scissors. You might want also a ruler, a ballpoint pen in case I want to curl things with it. You can easily make pretty flowers with this project, or you can do more creative things such as this fire I made a few years back, and this one I included sticks on. If you use a thicker piece of paper, a piece of cardboard or cardstock, you're going to find that you're going to be able to put more heavy objects on it, like buttons or sticks. So the first thing you do is you take and you slice up a bunch of pieces of paper, and this might be where you would use your ruler if you have one. You can measure out exactly what the lengths are. Slice them all so they're equal. I also like to take a whole bunch and just slice them so that they're different sizes without measuring, because I think that adds some cool texture. If you want more of a flat surface at the end though, measuring and being precise is probably what's going to do you best. And once we have a whole bunch of pieces of paper ready, we're going to be able to start uncurling them for our project. For today's project, I'm going to draw an orange slice. I chose that because I had a lot of orange paper, so it just made sense. It's good to have a template on your picture so that you know what it is that you want to fill in. If you want to just go for it without drawing, you can do that too. So once you have a bunch of pieces of paper together, you're going to take them and you're going to pick out your color that you want to use first, and then you're going to begin by curling it. You can either use your fingers and kind of bend the piece of paper at the end with your fingernails, or you can find something else to help you start the bend, such as a toothpick, which you could lean on the very end of the paper, and then you could just gradually fold the piece of paper upwards. You could also do that with a popsicle stick or the tip of a pencil. I like taking the cap of a ballpoint pen, and especially these big ones because they have kind of a sharp edge, and sticking the piece of paper in between the pen and the cap, and then just gradually pulling it upwards a little bit so I get a little bit of a bend. Once I have a little bit of a bend, I can use that to curl my piece of paper up the rest of the way. I think adding a variety of colors to your object, whether it be an orange slice or a fire or a flower, makes for a more interesting quilling project. So I have two colors of orange here that I'm going to intersperse throughout the piece. I'm going to use the darker pieces where the light isn't hitting it as much, and save the lighter pieces for where there's brighter light. And then I'll also stick some white pieces of paper in there to add a little bit of glimmer. For glue, you can use any type of liquid glue. I'm using Mod Podge because that's all I have in my house, but honestly, Elmer's or another type of normal liquid glue works better for this specific project. To use the glue, you can use a scrap of paper, some newspaper or an old envelope, or just a wrinkly old scrap of paper, and as long as it doesn't have a hole in it, pour some glue out on there, so then it's easier to scrape some glue onto the paper that you're going to attach. When you're gluing, you want to get a little bit of glue on the end of the paper that you're sticking to itself. You also want to get some on the bottom, and then you want to get it onto the side that's going to stick to the other paper. Once you have enough glue on it, you'll stick it onto your piece of paper and you'll hold it for a few seconds. If you don't hold it for a few seconds, you'll notice that they just kind of pop off. And that's okay because they're easily fixable. However, it's frustrating when you come up with a perfect place to put that piece of paper and it moves. So try holding it for 10 seconds or something. And you might notice you need less time or more time. Probably depends on the dryness of your house or the type of glue you're using. One thing you'll notice as we're quilling is that we're taking the curls and then we're pinching them at the bottom to give it a little bit of a teardrop shape. And you can pinch it either at the bottom and the top to give it kind of a diamond shape, or you can just pinch it at the bottom for a teardrop shape, and whichever way you pinch it, you can use that for different things. I like the way that when I pinch it at the bottom and I use it as a teardrop, it gives the orange the effect of radiating like they do. Different textures of the paper does matter. You'll notice that sometimes it works better to use cardstock and sometimes it works better to use printer paper. When making the small curls, I think it's easier to use the lighter weight paper like printer paper. However, today all I had was cardstock, so it's all about what you have, and you can basically use any piece of paper. This is a nice project for when you're inside, because without much, because all you need is a different colored piece of paper to go behind the paper you're going to cut up and curl, and then you would also just need a bunch of different varieties of colors of paper to curl. If all you have is white paper, then you can take your background piece of paper and you can color it with something waterproof like crayons or acrylic paint. At the end, I'm going to add these slices of paper that are just left over for the bottom. So all I'm going to do here is just curl it around like a smile or something, and then I'm going to attach a few layers so it looks a little thicker. Now we're going to try making a flower, and this will use our teardrop effect, where we're going to pinch it at the bottom. We're going to curl up our paper and then we're going to pinch it to give it that teardrop. And after we've done all that, we're going to take a piece of paper to make the stem. So making stems is easier, attaching them is harder. So in this instance, I'm going to take and curl both ends. You could choose to just curl one end, or you could curl none at all like we did with the orange slice. And then once I have both sides curled, I'm going to put some glue on the part that's going to attach to the flower, and I'm going to make sure I get enough glue all along the edge, and then I'm going to set it on the paper. And you really have to hold this down and make sure it's sticking, because these stems have less surface area touching in some spots than the petals do. So you're going to want to really push it down to make sure it's staying. And then I'm going to make a teardrop leaf. And look, if I add some pieces of paper, I can add a little bit of a collage effect and turn it into something a little bit different. Kind of makes the flower look excited to be alive. And if I go ahead and I cut this out, I can turn this into a little card. I could put a little magnet on the back and make this a fridge magnet. Or I could put it on a gift box as a type of bow. Please share your creations in the comments. We love seeing what you create. It's fun for me to make stuff, but it's really fun to see what you're doing. It's a good way to stay connected to my art friends out there. Thank you for joining me. I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye!